I am Lawrence Chuno, and this is Doing Jazz. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Doing Jazz. My name is Lawrence Chuno, and this episode is with vocalist Christine Lee Sargent. Christine's voice is well known and respected in the New York City jazz circle. On her new album Smolder, Christine delivers a set of masterful arrangements and vocal interpretations to 10 songs comprising originals and standards. Her skillful use of lyrics commands the listener to not only hear her but also see her through the speaker. The song playing in the background is called I Am Beginning to See the Light. During my conversation with Christine, you'll hear the songs Bomb, Burn, and It's Alright With Me. These songs are all from the album Smolder by Christine Lee Sargent. After listening to this episode, you can learn more about Christine Lee Sargent by going to the website of the show, www.doingjazz.net. You can also follow the show on Instagram and Twitter. The handle is @DoingJazz. And you can listen to more episodes of Doing Jazz by subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or any of the available podcast vendors. If you're on Spotify, please follow the Doing Jazz playlist, a one-stop playlist for songs by all the Doing Jazz guests so far. While on iTunes, please rate the show, leave a comment, and share the show with your loved ones. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I present Christine Lee Sargent. In your face.
I never saw rainbows in my wine, but now that your lips are burning mine, I'm beginning to see the light.
Christine Lee Sargent.
Yeah.
Welcome to Doing Jazz.
Thank you for having me.
Great.
So happy to be here.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, we live in the same neighborhood, almost. I live in Inwood, you live in Washington Heights.
Yes.
Have you always lived in Washington Heights?
No, I moved to Washington Heights just this summer. I lived in Midtown before that.
Oh, okay.
And then lived on 100th Street for a while, and then began my journey in New York in Queens.
Oh, okay. Astoria, Queens?
Yes, of
Okay.
course, Actor Storia or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to live in Washington Heights, 189th Street.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I lived there for 3 years. I moved to New York in 2014. I lived there for 3 years, and then I moved to Inwood in 2017. Yeah.
So you're an uptown guy.
Yeah. I think
love it
I
up here.
prefer uptown. Yeah, prefer uptown. I can't stand the hustle and bustle of Midtown. Brooklyn, I don't know. First of all, Brooklyn is far from my regular job, from my daytime job. So I don't even put that into consideration. But I prefer Washington Heights or Inwood. So yeah.
I heard this part of town called Upstate Manhattan once.
Where is that?
Here.
Where would upstate be?
The idea, it's kind of a joke saying
Oh, okay,
Upstate
okay.
Manhattan.
Upstate Manhattan.
Kind of,
Okay, yeah,
it's
yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit more relaxed up here.
I see,
And
yeah.
I was lucky enough to have a very tiny apartment in Midtown, but I don't miss being so centrally located is a blessing, and also can sometimes make you feel a little nuts.
I know. You lived like in a studio in Midtown?
I lived in the place I moved out of was like 110 square feet. I always explained it to people where I said, okay, when you open the bed, you can't open the refrigerator.
Crazy. 110 square feet.
Yeah, it was pretty small, but
small.
I appointed it well. It had
Yeah.
everything you needed. Keyboard,
Yeah.
a nice futon and whatnot.
Yeah. And one thing about New York is that when you move to New York, then you realize how much little you need in life, because before I buy any new thing, before I bring anything new to my apartment, I already know what I'm going to get rid of because
Right.
of space. I'm sure that applies to you when you lived in 110 square feet.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I get kind of a thrill out of getting rid of things
Yeah.
too. So the Marie Kondo, I'm all over that.
Yeah, yeah. I
that
just heard
stuff.
about that stuff. I just heard about it. I think I'm gonna.
I think you're already
Inve-
there. I'm looking around
you
and
think so?
it's very, I'm sure,
I still want to get rid of a few things. I
yeah,
still
I
want.
feel like when I get rid of things that, I'm making room for things to change or
Yeah.
whatever.
Before I forget, I want to talk about your show at Birdland.
Oh,
Do
thank
you
you.
want to tell us a little about it?
Yes, I'm so excited. So for those of you listening, on March 26th, it's a Tuesday night. It's at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And the most beautiful thing about it is that we're going to have all the pieces that you hear on the record on stage, and that may not be a luxury I always can offer. So most of the lineup is on the record. We do have some incredible people on the record that were not available. So I have Helen Sung on piano,
Oh, okay.
Philip Norris on bass, Ted Nash, alto sax and alto
Nice.
flute, Jay Sawyer on drums, Rogerio Boccato on percussion, and then yours truly. And the Birdland Theater Space is
Yeah.
perfect for a vocalist.
Yep. Yep.
So it's going to be really, the record is a journey of fire, and we will take that together on Tuesday night. It'll be a real celebration.
How many sets? You
Just
playing?
one.
Just one. And it's at what time is it again?
7 o'clock, and you can come earlier and eat and drink and
All
whatnot.
right.
Their
That's-
wine list is
what
expanded.
day is that?
It's really good.
What day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
The 26th.
March 26th, 7 p.m. Okay.
Almost a week away.
Okay. Great. 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 That's awesome. Now, you talked about fire. The name of the album, your new album, is called Smolder. And when I was listening, I felt the fire. You know, I felt the fire in everything on the album. As I was telling you, I like your interpretation of lyrics. Like when I was listening to you, it reminded me of the importance of lyrics. Lyrics are very important. And the way the way a singer, a vocalist uses lyrics is also very important. You use lyrics, the way you use it, it makes me feel like you are talking to me. This might sound like a cliche, but that's how I really feel. It makes
the
me feel like,
best.
yeah, like you're talking to me. It makes me feel like, okay, I got to listen, and not only listen, but I got to picture this person talking to me. I have to like pay attention to this person.
Wow.
And yeah.
I can't think of a better compliment, really.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel.
That's, I love recording, but I also, the reason I record is so I can do more live performance. And, the challenge and the opportunity of recording is to get that, try to capture that feeling
Yeah.
in something where you can't see the person. And I think with singers, it's especially important to get that visual information. But for it sonically to be doing that job for you makes me so happy. But we can definitely talk about lyrics in the sense of, it's really I've done things where I won't say scat, where I'll make sounds or something
Yeah.
like that vocally. And I feel for me, the kind of singer that I am, the lyrics are my instrument. They're my tool. And I feel it's very important for me to work with those tools. I mean, I think instrumentalists sometimes have to be jealous because we get the words that directly
Yeah.
speak
Yeah,
to
to
people.
people.
So I'm very careful. The reason I tend not to scat is just because I don't want to lose that integrity
Yeah.
of you've trusted me that I'm telling you a story. And for me, if I suddenly am squeed a wee bop,
Yeah.
I've lost that connection, and now I feel like you don't trust me as much that I'm going to say something meaningful.
But the freedom with which you present your lyrics, it already does that job of scatting. Because scatting, one of the reasons of scatting is improvisation. You want to use this section to just be free and express yourself. But you already do that with your lyrics. I was listening to some of the standards here. You preserved the tradition of the song, you preserved the melody, but then you infused effortlessly this freedom that is just unique and different.
Well, thank
Do
you.
you
I
want to
think
talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of it is that tension. The more I study harmony and the more I admire, great instrumentalists especially, the more, of course, I want to be a part of that. And there's that moment where maybe I think for a lot of singers, there's that moment where you have to break free of the words and you have to start scatting because you can't say what you want to say within the constraints of the words. And I feel like, number one, I want to continue to cultivate the ability to, if I feel like I want to scat something, chances are I could write it for an instrument that could express it better as an arranger. But also, it's like fire in a way, like you have to contain it.
Yeah.
And that's when things get really interesting, which is, okay, maybe I feel like I want to invent something past the words, but I'm still going to keep myself within the words. And hopefully you feel that, that restless energy, that kinetic energy that's coming out. And it'll cause me to make, I think, more interesting phrasing choices than I would if I had like a break and then I started just vocally improvising. Again, that's just true for me. One thing I love about this music is how different every singer is. And I was just having a chat with Camille Thurman, who's an incredible scatting talent, and you can tell it's her language.
Yeah,
she's
also
actually
a saxophonist.
Yes, she's an instrumentalist. So when she starts scatting as a singer, she's really communicating, and she is speaking her language, and it is powerful. I'm just different in the way I'm wired and the things that work for me.
Now you talked about we were talking about being free. One of the things that I struggled with when I was studying voice, when I was trying to become a better singer, is that the better I get as a singer, the more conscious I become of being in tune. And when you're like really free, there's more tendency of going out of tune or being pitchy up and down, but you execute yours like really well. I mean, you don't seem to have that problem at all. Is this something that you've really worked on, or do you still pay close attention to intonation?
I pay attention. For me, I think the thing that has worked for me is I do pay attention, and I used to pay attention a little more. Like when I dove into being a jazz vocalist, I started recording every gig, and I'd listen back and go, when the sound coming out of my mouth did not match what I thought was happening, I would dive in. But I also found that it's kind of a two parts are what helped my intonation. One is developing my sense of listening. So for me, becoming a better listener, transcribing things, really listening better makes my ears better. And if I can really hear what's going on around me, I will participate in a way that's musically sound. And the second thing I found after a point, especially at that time that I was really shedding a lot and being very precise in what I'd listen back to what I was doing, I realized that the harder I was on myself, the more depressed my pitch would become. If I start thinking too much, if I start going, I got to get this right, I could actually track that moment where emotionally or whatever I was feeling like bearing down on myself psychologically. I could hear it. I was flat. And so once I kind of had a moment there when I thought, okay, this isn't just about developing my musicianship. This is also about finding that freedom. And in that freedom, I become more in tune.
Yeah. What's worse, being flat or being sharp?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of great singers who are always like a little bit flat.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. When I started getting, there was a period of time where I got really freaky about this stuff. I'm glad I'm not there anymore. But I started listening to, the performances I would do that I didn't like so much. And then I would listen to Sinatra, who would frequently, if you're going to be really exact about it, was frequently a little bit under.
Yeah.
There are a lot of great singers, and my little bit under was not Sinatra a little bit under, so I had to remedy that. But so there aren't, and Anita O'Day is another singer who, intonation wise, nobody seems to care.
Yeah.
So realizing that there are no exact rules, and one of the things I can't stand about over-processed pop music is everyone sounds perfect and like a robot.
Yeah.
So I feel like there, especially when it's time to sit in the mixing studio and deal with a record. We recorded this in one day, so there's going to be moments that aren't perfect. Choosing to keep imperfection as well. I'm not perfect in every section of this album, and I think it's important to preserve that because that's where the authenticity is.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's talk about the musicians.
Let's.
All right. All right. You did the arrangements
Yes.
and you did the voice. We can come back to the arrangement later on. You played with Jeb Patton on piano, Cameron Brown on bass, Jay Sawyer drums, Ted Nash on saxophone, Jody Redhage Ferber
Yeah.
on cello, and Rogeria. Is it Rogeria?
Rogerio, I think so you're supposed to say. Yeah.
Rogeria Baccato on percussion. All right. I think you mentioned these people before.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Can you talk about how you brought all these people
What an
together?
amazing band. This album came together very organically. I'd been working on some of the material with Jeb for a while. Jeb is probably my longest collaborator that's on this album. And what can I say other than I think everybody sounds great on the record, but I especially feel Jeb's work here really shows people who he is in another way. He listens so carefully, and his choices are so deft and committed and in the world of the song which we were performing. He just had a new record come out, so I'm just thrilled to give people a little bit more Jeb on this album.
Nice.
So he's amazing. Cameron Brown, I met working with David Budway, who's another wonderful pianist I've worked with a lot. And Cam has most famously done a lot of duo work with the great Sheila Jordan. And that, I'd met him years ago, but that sense of freedom and the willingness to have these wonderful little moments where the two of us were alone on certain parts of arrangements to really explore. It's rare to find in a bass player. Bass, your job is to kind of hold it all together in a lot of ways. And so Cam is able to do that, but also able to have these flights of fancy with a singer. And he's had a lot of practice with one of the greats. So that's awesome.
Nice.
Jody is funny because, I met her. I was with Ted Nash, who I haven't mentioned yet, but is just incredible. And his flute is really, everybody knows him for his alto sax playing and a lot of other instruments besides, but I'm thrilled to offer people 4 tracks, I think, with him on flute, because I think his flute playing is just, I don't know, it's one of my favorite things in the world. But I met Jody at the Grammys because I went there with Ted, and Jody's personality is so sparkling and amazing, and all of a sudden I thought, cello. And then suddenly I had to have cello on the album, so there you go.
Awesome. All right. I want to talk about a few of the songs, but I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to go with the ones that I like.
Do be selfish.
Because I discovered that when I listened to the album at least 3 times, but the second time, the second track is the one I kept rewinding, and I think it's called Bomb Burn. Yeah, something like that, so and it just caught my attention. I just gravitated towards it and I kept listening to it. I'm like, this is a really good song. I don't know this song, because I didn't know that you wrote some of the songs. And then I look at it, I'm like, wow, she wrote this one too, so do you want to talk about that song?
It's the first song I've written and recorded.
Oh,
so that's a big deal for me.
Nice.
And we made a music video to that song.
Okay.
So if anybody's curious, the music video is kind of its own animal. So I won't speak to
I think
that.
I butchered the name. Can you talk about
Bomb Burn? It's a
Bomb
tough. It's
Burn.
a tough.
Okay.
It's a tough name. I had a friend who always, my best friend Dylan. She loves lip glosses and things like that. And she was in an airport line telling them, "Oh, the bombs are in the first part of my purse," and they're like, "You can't say that word. It sounds like bomb." Anyway, but what should I talk about? I had a lot of fun writing it.
Okay. Where did the name come from?
Well, it has to do with, the first lyrics are, "You're my balm and my burn. You're the lesson I won't learn." You're my balm and my burn. You're the lesson I won't learn. There's a way in which you singe and smoke me. The heat, the blinding billows provoke me. Heart in flashes, heart in ashes. I don't know to tell you stop or go, just please. Either way, my balm. You're the storm and the calm. You make giving in so easy. The flame and fire seize me. Hard as ice flows, soft as new snow. I don't know to tell you stop or go, just please. Either way, your kisses are so sweet. I radiate with pulsing strange heat. Swelter then sweat it off. My Fahrenheit spikes, then it drops. Spikes, then it drops. Yes, no, don't stop. Song. This is one of those songs where that lyric came to me. That "You're my balm and my burn" came to me first, and I was like, okay, I have to write a song about this. Which is just the sense that the singer's singing about someone who, you know, is the flame and also the thing that soothes the flame. So, in this love affair, in this song, there's something very dangerous, like an open fire. But then there's also this really nice cool down, and I don't know to tell you stop or go, just please, either way is the refrain. And it's like, I don't know if this is healthy or not, but keep doing it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and then your interpretation of "I'm beginning to see the light." You want to talk? Yeah. Why did you choose that song?
I had been singing that song with David Budway, who I mentioned, and he had this really cool arrangement that ultimately I ended up feeling I had to take it in my own direction, which is just something a little freer. But that's a song. There's so much fire in that song.
Yeah.
There's so much energy about, you know, and the language. I didn't just choose the songs to fit a fire theme. They were kind of the songs I was feeling anyway, and that's what they happened to belong. You know, there's just this kinetic energy, I guess, in that song that I find it hard to explain, but easy to embody.
Yeah. My question for you about that song is that song has a melody that I would never dream of. I'll never think of bending in any way. You know. But you fearlessly went that direction.
The word fearless gets brought up with me a lot, and I think that's just maybe I'm not thinking carefully enough about it. But yeah, once I live in a song for a while, then there are some exceptions. There are songs that I sing that I feel it's important to sing them in a very faithful way, because maybe they're less heard.
Yeah.
But in this case,
you
know, it just invited me to be a little bit looser with it. And also just the sense of this spark about to go. And I think the song lends itself to that. And that means it's a great song.
Yes.
Because we can make other choices. Yeah. I feel like anytime if I'm doing a standard on this album or in future records, I feel like I have to say something that hasn't been said.
Yeah.
So if I don't have something new to offer and it's just a song I really like, then that might be something I do on a gig. But to commit something for all time on a recorded format, I feel like I'm joining in the conversation of all the beginning to see the lights that have come before. So
nice. And this Cole Porter song, It's All Right With Me. That's another one you did.
Yeah.
You want to talk about your
Do you
choice?
want to talk about it? I think I always end up saying this on stage, but Cole Porter is I mean, nobody misbehaves better than Cole Porter. And there's a lot of these songs that are just, they're so naughty.
Yeah.
And that one, you know, hey, you're not the guy, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
He's all right.
It'll work. Let's go for it. And there's all this sly humor about it, and
Yes.
it's so sexy. It's
Yeah.
just, I mean, aren't you trying to forget somebody
I know.
too? I mean, can you imagine? That the game.
Yeah, yeah. I know. My first encounter with Cole Porter is a song, "Love for Sale."
Oof.
I'm like, who writes this? You know?
Can we talk about that song? The song makes me so mad. I mean, not that there are versions of it
Yeah.
taken love for
Yeah,
sale.
yeah.
It's like, this is a song about somebody selling their body and they're not happy about it. Like, since when did this become
become normal.
like a club hit? As somebody who's a lyrically focused singer,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's mine to sing, but I invite, maybe for the right singer. I'm not ready to devastate myself by singing that song from the perspective that I feel
Yeah.
it needs to come
Yeah.
from. But someone will do it someday, and we'll rethink it the way we're rethinking "Baby It's Cold Outside."
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't need to be sung, but perhaps we need to be more careful.
Careful when singing it. Have you ever listened to Dee Dee Bridgewater's version of "Love for Sale"?
I have not.
You should look for it on YouTube.
Oh, she's okay.
Yeah, it's live, and yeah, I think after watching it, you'll be like, okay,
Okay, somebody
this
did it.
song
Great.
this song is made for some people. You know?
Awesome, awesome. All right, I want to. I just think that the better a song is, the more it invites this kind of passionate belief in interpretation. And the beauty of jazz is that you will be, if you're an opera buff, you've got a way. A lot of people have a way in which they think things ought to be sung, and they're waiting for someone to hit those marks, which is why I was just terrified of pursuing that
Yeah.
art form. And in jazz, I mean, I have a lot of strong opinions about songs, and then I can be delightfully surprised.
Yeah.
That's why I love this music. Because hopefully, whatever notions I have can be totally upended at any point by another artist.
True. True. Definitely.
It's the wrong time in the wrong place. Though your face is charming, it's the wrong face. It's not his face, but such a charming face that it's all right with me. It's the wrong song in the wrong style. Though your smile is lovely, it's the wrong smile. It's not his smile, but such a lovely smile that it's all right with me. You can't know how happy I am that we met. I'm strangely attracted to you. There's someone I'm trying so hard to forget. Don't you want to forget someone too? It's the wrong game with the wrong chips. Though your lips are tempting, they're the wrong lips. They're not his lips, but they're such tempting lips that if some night you're free, yes, it's alright. Yes, it's alright. Yes, it's alright. Yes, it's alright. Yes, it's alright with me.
You are listening to Doing Jazz with Lawrence Chuno. The guest on this episode is vocalist Christine Lee Sargent. Her album Smother is available for purchase and streaming. If you're on Spotify or iTunes, please follow the Doing Jazz playlist, a one-stop playlist for songs by all the Doing Jazz guests so far. Let's go back to the very beginning. Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from a little town called Manchester by the Sea.
That's the name?
Yes, it's also
Manchester
the name
by
of
the
a
Sea.
movie that,
Okay.
is kind of, anyway. It
Wow.
wasn't like in the movie, if you
Yeah.
just saw it.
Okay.
Massachusetts.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did you become this phenomenon that you've become?
Well, we got a little petri dish and added a few little things.
In terms of music,
In terms of
when did you get into music?
I wasn't born in a petri. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. If you were part of anyway. Okay, moving on. I grew up in a town like suburban Massachusetts. If you're musically inclined and dramatically inclined, musical theater is the thing that you do. So I did a lot of work on stage, dramatically and in theater. I started working professionally in high school at semi-professionally at a theater nearby. So I would be in school all the time and doing shows, rehearsing a show, and then performing a show at the same time. Not necessarily getting all my schoolwork done, but I continued with that and then pursued classical music at a few universities because I thought it was an avenue worth exploring. And I was performing professionally in Boston at that time. And when I graduated college, I thought, okay, moving to New York, there was a thought that maybe I could pursue opera, but definitely want to do theater. And what ended up happening was neither one. It didn't take very long. I mean, I did some really interesting theatrical projects, very diverse, like Gilbert and Sullivan to pop musicals to rock opera. I mean, kind of an insane palette of things that I did. And I just really fell in love with the intimacy of cabaret performance and then the Great American Songbook. And even a girl with a music degree, I really had not been formally introduced to the jazz masters, especially the great female jazz singers. I'd listened to Sinatra as a kid and stuff, but I was plunked down in front of an episode of Jazz Casual, you know, that old black and white show. Oh my God, it's so great. And it's great people, little conversation, and then they sing. And there's an episode, one with Mel Torme, where he's just scandalous. He's weighing in on every singer that there ever was.
Wow.
And it's like the handcuffs or the gloves are off. But Carmen McRae has an episode. And I remember just being agape, like, you can be that dramatically connected and musically inventive and, you know, sonically please. It was just, it blew my mind. And I guess I was singing with a big band at the time, and then I just kind of forsook all those other avenues for jazz.
Wow. You went to, what school did you go to?
I graduated from Brandeis University.
Oh, okay.
Took a few schools to get there, but that's where I graduated from.
That's what's up. Was it a conservatory? Music conservatory?
No, I got a music degree, but it's a liberal arts school. And you know, it's a shame. I had studied philosophy in some schools before that, but by the time I got to Brandeis, I was performing at night all the time, and I didn't have time to take advantage of all of their academic offerings.
I see. Okay. And then you moved to New York. What was your experience the first time you moved to New York? What did you think of New York?
Oh, well, I always knew I wanted to be here. I would go walk and buy the New York Times as a kid and come home and even just like look at the ads. I mean, the glamour and the pace of New York City always called to me. I was wearing all black all throughout high school. I just felt like
you were that kid.
I was, exactly. But my experience was, I think New York is so funny. I wouldn't have found the things out that I found out about myself had I not moved here.
Kind of whips you into shape. And
yes,
and continues to do that.
I think that New York is different for it's like life, really. I'm talking about New York, but I'm talking about life, which is that I moved here with a very rigid idea of who I was, what I was going to accomplish, the timeline in which it was going to happen, and New York kicked my ass.
Yeah.
That's how hard the lessons needed to be. So I learned from an acting teacher something I sort of had suspected about myself, which is just, if I'm not serious about telling the truth or getting to some aspect of truth in the art that I pursue, then I should get out of this business. And, I had been a performer and an entertainer, and I just thought, okay, if I can do enough tricks to get applause, if I can get approved by you by doing enough stuff, then that transaction I'm comfortable with. But it turns out, what I've evolved into is somebody where it's a much different thing. It's not, here's a bunch of tricks, please clap. It's, I'm going to let you in to the truth of who I am, and maybe we will have a transcendent experience together. That's a lot harder.
Yes. So you, in other words, you have to just become comfortable being vulnerable as an artist. I mean, I hear that advice over and over again, but the way you articulated it, it's like it's coming from like a first person perspective.
It's not comfortable.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
get comfortable being vulnerable ever in life, on stage or
Yeah.
off stage. I think it's really uncomfortable. That
Yeah.
means you're growing.
Now, as a vocalist, what would be if a growing vocalist, if a young person who wants to sing ask you, what is the one thing that I need to do as a vocalist, one thing I need to know in terms of skill?
Well, I can only, David Lynch said all advice is a form of nostalgia. So anything I have to say is based on my experience,
Yeah.
which has been really nutty. So if I meet another nutty singer,
Yeah.
or maybe not, I would say that if I were talking to someone who's pursuing jazz singing or any kind of more idiosyncratic vocal work, whether it be rock or pop, where you really have to sound like yourself.
Yeah.
The way I ended up doing it was I studied classically, which may not give you a distinctive sound, but it will give you the technique you need to do anything you want. I had to work backwards from that and then unmine my sound out of that.
Yeah.
But I would say that getting some classical technique from the right teacher, it will serve you so well. Because once you start hearing things, I can't imagine anything. It must be sad to hear something and to want to do it
Yeah.
sonically and then not be able to physically. So if you develop those muscles and that technique, maybe all the while thinking, do I like this? Is this the way I want to sound? If you could learn classical technique and then also make creative choices within that technique at the same time, because I did one and then the other,
Yeah.
that would be a really cool thing. I'd recommend that.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. How about business wise? As a vocalist, you're a musician, but people don't see you. People might not see you as a musician. Like when you say you're a musician, people say, "What do you play?" You know. And when they say, "What do you play?" they're thinking of an instrument. And again, most of your gigs, you are the person who gets the gig.
Yeah.
You know, you have to look for the gig and then employ other people. Meanwhile, a saxophonist just stays there and gets called by other people. You know, how do you navigate through that world? How difficult has it been? Have you been lucky in being the lead person? You know,
I've been lucky and it has been difficult.
I see.
Both things. I left my sort of night job, day job last summer. I was a sommelier at
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And it's funny, after I did that,
Yeah.
made that leap, I started getting calls. So I do get called to be a side person.
Yeah.
I'm singing with a big band on Wednesday, and so things have been coming in. And for a singer to get called to be a sideman
Yeah.
is a little less usual than the other way around happening. So being a front person has been great. It also can be stressful, as you know,
Yeah.
because you are booking the
Yeah.
gigs and making sure people come, and you have to kind of keep your artistry and your business sense at the same time. So it's an interesting story that's still being written now that I'm all in committed to touring. I will continue to hopefully be lucky and work through the difficulty.
Yeah. All right. We're going to conclude with a game.
Oh,
I call it turn up or turn down. I used to call it turn up or mute. And one of my friends said you should turn up or turn down. So whatever it is, turn up, turn down. All right. I'm going to give you two choices. You're going to turn one up and you're going to turn down the other. But the caveat, I'm going to give you a way out. The caveat is that whatever you turn up, it's just for now. You know, it's what you like now. It doesn't mean you don't like the other one.
okay.
It doesn't mean you don't like the other option, but this is just what you're feeling.
Tongue up.
Turn
like
up.
my tongue. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, turn up,
right.
turn down.
I get
yeah.
it. I get it.
All right. Two choices. You ready?
All right.
From our conversation, I know you're like into musical theater a little bit. You know a little bit about musical theater.
I know a little bit about it,
Okay. And you know a little bit about classical singing. All right. And you know a little bit about acting. Okay. So these two ladies, Audra McDonald, Patti LuPone. Are you familiar with both of them?
Am I what about them?
Familiar with the two
Oh,
of
of
them?
course,
Yeah.
yes.
So
who do
turn
I have to
down?
decide?
Yeah, who do you turn up and who do you turn down?
I am gonna go. This is so fun, and
Yeah.
nobody's going to be offended.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick Patti LuPone because
Okay.
can I talk about why
yeah,
I
of
choose
course,
what I
of
choose?
course, yeah.
No, I saw she's another one, like a lot of great jazz vocalists that
Yeah.
at first I didn't understand. I used to listen to recordings with her on them, and I, grew up with her on TV shows and stuff like that. And I saw her in my favorite musical, Sweeney Todd. And, I listened to her, and I'll just say that maybe I didn't always understand everything that was going on with her. And I saw her play the role of Mrs. Lovett, and she made such interesting phrasing choices. She completely changed on an acting level what I thought of the role,
Yeah.
but she took, especially to take musical chances within the structure of Sondheim is incredible. She really has a lot of jazz cats I know really really dig Patti LuPone because she's ballsy. She takes chances. And Audra McDonald, I love too. She's
Yeah.
classically trained. I hear so much beautiful classical training in her voice. It's and her Billie Holiday impression was just
you watched that
embodiment.
on HBO?
I did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So anyway, tough choice, but I'm gonna go Patti.
Patti LuPone. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, talking about Audra McDonald. One of her songs, like she made me start listening to John Mayer. You know John Mayer, the guitarist.
yeah.
She recorded one of his songs. It's called "My Stupid Mouth," and the way she sang it, it's like you just paid attention to her. She's like
Yeah.
telling you a story. She's not singing. She's not just singing. She's telling you a story. You
I
know?
remember that
Yeah.
that first album that she recorded when it came out, and I was singing "Stars in the Moon" all the time. I mean, she's
Yeah.
what a force.
Yes. All right. Another question. Another two options. Midtown, Washington Heights.
Washington Heights.
Washington
hands
Heights.
down.
Okay. All right.
Don't even
We-
have to
We
explain.
already talked about that. Okay. All right. And the last one. Be careful.
Oh, you got a good one.
Bomb, Burn, Afterglow. I butchered the names.
You
Burn.
didn't. You make everything sound great.
Yeah. Born, Burn, or Afterglow. Which one do you choose? Which one? These are two of your kids,
Oh.
two of your babies. Your album,
Yes,
two of
no,
your
they
songs.
are.
Yeah.
I choose Bomb Burn, I guess.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about Afterglow? It's another powerful song.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning it. Yeah, it's less catchy, and I guess I chose Bomb Burn because I love the sort of time signature changes, and it's I'm excited to explore more of what's in that in my future writing. Afterglow, though, it was interesting to write such a kind of naked song, and. Yeah, I guess I hadn't really. If I'm writing a song, I have to feel like something about this hasn't been captured before in other music. And for me, I guess what Afterglow is that maybe I haven't seen in the music that I've been exposed to is just this. It's very much a moment in time. I feel like I when I see the song, I can think of somebody rolling over in the empty bed, and It's very visceral for me and almost cinema. It's funny, I made the video in the other one, but that one feels very, very cinematic in a lot of ways. And there's a real, in performing it, it's been even more interesting. So I'm excited to perform it on Tuesday. There's actually some latent anger there that is sort of in this interpretation, but it continues to grow. It's kind of like an inner monologue. There's a unanswered question there. So I think that's interesting.
Nice. Awesome. Before we go, I want to ask you about your name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want to say catchy, but that's the only one I can come up with.
Oh, that's so
It's
funny.
it's like naturally inviting. It's like, okay, Christine Lee Sargent. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So is Lee your middle name or is it your
Lee is my middle. That's my full
Okay.
name. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I thought it's too long.
Yeah.
Or there's too many. It's just too much of it.
Mhm. And you decided to use all of them.
I
All your
did.
names,
I mean,
okay.
that was a decision I made a while ago.
Okay.
Actually, it was just because in the Screen Actors Guild there was already a Kristen Sargent
Oh,
phonetically.
okay,
So
okay.
I thought, okay, I feel like in the acting world you see a lot of three names,
Yeah.
but in the musical world it's a lot of letters to fit on a record. So, but it's I like there's a lot of the consonants at the end
Yeah,
of the names.
yeah.
It's sort of there's a strength about that that I don't know. I'm glad my parents named us okay.
Yeah.
My siblings know how to name their kids. I've got,
Okay. Give
I've
me
got, I've got
examples.
my sister, her children. One of them sounds like a founding father. His name is Everett Randall Emerson.
Wow.
I'm like, you're in charge of something. I just don't know what.
True, I know.
And the girl is Riley Grace Emerson. So
Wow.
I'm like, naming. The name game is on.
Yep,
So,
yep,
anyway.
it is, yeah. Okay, so Birdland, you're playing at Birdland March 26th,
Yes.
Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m.
Love to see you there.
Yes, I'll try to make it.
I won't.
Christine Christine Lee Sargent.
You know,
Thank you for coming
thank
over.
you for having me.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, later. We did it.
Billows provoke me, heart in flashes, heart in ashes. I don't know to tell you stop or go, just please, either way. You're my burn and my bomb. You're the storm and the calm. You make giving in so easy. The flame and fire seize me. Hard as ice flows, soft as new snow. I don't know to tell you stop or go, just please. Either way, your kisses are so sweet. I radiate with pulsing strange heat, swelter then sweat it off. My Fahrenheit spikes, then it drops, spikes, then it drops. Yes, no, don't stop. You're my balm and my burn. You're the lesson I won't learn. There's a way in which you singe and smoke me. The heat, the blinding billows provoke me. Heart in flashes, heart in ashes. A man a rolling more than 3 below. You heat me fast and you cool me slow. I don't know to tell you stop or go, just please.